Yay, we're
Hello! This is the Bard Book Club, the first one, the live stream for talking about Julius Caesar by William Shakespeare. I'm Bridget, and this is my channel, so welcome.
I'm Molly from Match Kamali. Hold on, I'm just tweeting out that we're doing this.
Yes, so other people know.
Hold on.
If you don't know, we read the whole play yesterday. I will leave a link to that in the description after this show is over.
It was only a little rough.
Yeah, it was the first one, so pretty solid.
Different editions.
Yeah, so we're gonna fix that next time.
How do I? Oh, there it is. Okay. The future is now. Okay, Okay, I'm gonna tweet it. Hold on.
Yes.
One person's watching. Hey there.
That could be you.
It might be. It might be. Okay.
Yeah. So we read the play yesterday. I always want to say book when I'm talking about it.
You can say it's a book.
I'm it's in the form of a book, but it's a play.
Most people, and we're live.
Yeah. So, first thoughts. I thought it was good. I hadn't read it before. Today, before this, but for today, no. But before this month, I hadn't read Julius Caesar, so I was excited to pick it up.
I just knocked it on the floor.
It's Molly's favorite play, so
it is.
She's read it.
I read it when I was in 10th grade, and then I read it again last year just for funsies. So this was my third time reading it, and I still loved it.
Yeah,
I think it's great. I think it's really funny.
I thought it was really good. Yeah,
I think it's very funny, and not a lot of people think. I mean, I don't think a lot of people realize how funny Shakespeare can be. And what I've always liked about this one is I think it's one of the easier to understand, colloquially. There aren't many lines where you have to look up what they mean by certain things.
Yeah.
Whereas in other plays, I remember when I read Othello, I was constantly what are we talking about?
Yeah, but this was pretty easy to read. When we were reading it yesterday, I was yeah, it's pretty good. Hello, welcome. Yes. Yeah, I thought it was pretty easy to read. Yeah, I thought it was good. I've also whenever I read Shakespeare, so many of his works are so prevalent in pop culture. So it's good to see where certain things come from.
Yeah, literally the term stabbed in the back. Yeah. The story of Julius Caesar.
Exactly. And I forget what it was the line from The Fault in Our Stars, and they said it.
Oh, because The Fault in Our Stars is because the line in the play.
The line from The Fault in Our Stars. The line from here that they took.
The line that they use in The Fault in Our Stars is they flip it, is because he says in the play, the fault, dear Brutus, is not in our stars, but in ourselves. And then in The Fault in Our Stars, Augustus says that and then says, but the fault is in our stars because we didn't choose to have cancer. Yeah, and then they also said mortal instruments at one point. I was like, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just really cool to see some things like that where it's
there's another where the hell is it? Really famous line. Yeah. It's when in what the hell act is this? Act 2, Scene 2, when Calpurnia is asking Caesar not to go to the capital. And he says, cowards die many times before their deaths. The valiant never taste of death but once.
Oh, and there's the friends, Romans, countrymen.
Lend me your ears. Yeah, that's that's a big one.
Yeah.
And yeah, those are all the really iconic ones, I'd say.
Yeah.
I would argue it's not by any extent his most famous play.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't like it because they're dumb. But yeah, I guess this one isn't as ingrained, but does this count as a tragedy or a history?
Yeah, it's a tragedy because it's if you go to the front page, it says hold on.
So were the only ones that were histories were the English shit?
It says the tragedy of Julius Caesar. Oh. Yeah. The histories were
the Henrys and
the Henrys, the Richards.
Okay.
Yeah, stuff like that. Which is interesting because also, fun facts as a person who took a Shakespeare class, we read King Lear, and it originally was the history of King Lear. Mm-hmm. And then after he published it in the folio and I forget the other word. There's another word that they use to say, like, it was like the original publication. Mm-hmm. And then in the second one, that it changed to be the tragedy of King Lear. So, like, something must have changed within that, and it was really cool. And, like, there's, like, we'll get to that when we get to King Lear, but, like, there's, like, the whole changing of the ending. But
one I haven't read is King Lear. Well, yeah, I was explaining to my dad last night, too.
How much they changed?
Yeah, that this is not historically accurate in the slightest. Like, because I always say in real life, I think Julius Caesar was a terrible person, but in the confines of the play, 100% on his side. And the thing is, I didn't realize it was more common to be on Brutus's side until college. Mm-hmm. Like, everyone in my high school class, we were all like, fuck Brutus, what is this about? And then it wasn't even really till actually, I don't even know. I think it wasn't until I listened to Charlotte Alleen's What You Will podcast, and they did Julius Caesar, and they were all about how, like, it was all like Brutus, you know, was some tragic figure. And I was like, what? Like, are you kidding me? And I didn't realize that apparently, like, a lot of people read this as, like, Caesar was a tyrant who did need to die. And I tried to read it that way this time, and I was still like, no.
No, I feel like I agreed with Julius Caesar, because, like, as Mark Antony says in his speech, he talks about how, like, oh, he does all these things, like, he turned down the crown and, like, 3 times and all of that, and it's like, oh, but, you know, he's a tyrant. That's what these noble guys are saying. Like, I think that speech really gives,
I love that speech,
depth to, like, what his character was.
And also, like, in the beginning, the 2 people on the street are like, oh, like, you so quickly, like, don't care about Pompey. And it's like, yeah, Pompey sucked. Of course they're, like, chill. Well, and also, like, again, it shows this isn't historically accurate, as they keep talking about Caesar being a king. And I don't think in Rome they would have even been using that terminology.
Yeah.
They had emperors. And I think because an emperor had more power than a king. Because, like, a king didn't have, like, absolute power. Like, he couldn't just, like, wave his hand and things happen. An emperor in a lot of countries could do whatever the fuck he wanted.
Like, the highest, yeah.
Yeah, like, an emperor needed no, like, approval to get things. They could just be like, you know what, we're doing this.
But kings kind of, there's a
I think, like, he probably just had him referred to as a king because of when this came out. And it's not like people were worldly and we're going to know the difference.
Yeah.
And I don't know, truth be told, historically how this went. Like, Caesar being offered a crown, like, I don't fucking know.
Yeah.
I mean, I know he got killed. I know that's true.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but, like, I think, like, the idea of him being offered the crown, it's like, shows he's kind of a good person and everything. So
I just think he's arrogant. But and then, like, they're trying to bait him before they kill him. But with this random thing where they're like, will you unbanish this person's brother?
Yeah.
Like, no. And that was pretty common back then for a ruler to be like, I made my choice. It'll make me look weak if I go back on it.
Yeah, that's fair.
And I always, every time I read it, I'm like, what a random thing to just throw at the wall, guys. To be like, we've never mentioned this until this point. But, like,
kind of like the will.
I love the will. The will is always funny to me.
So you've never heard of this, but I found this in his closet, and, you know,
no one's seen it but me, but don't even worry about that.
I just whipped this out. Like, I thought he might die, so.
And it conveniently serves my agenda.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was so stupid to let him go a second.
Yeah, because it's just like, the second one always has the advantage because they know what the other person said.
It reminds me a lot of the second French Revolution, where they, like, killed all the royals with the guillotine.
Oh yeah.
And then France just still was a fucking mess because, like, it's like these conspirators will be like, okay, we're gonna kill this person in power we think is corrupt, and it's like, you're gonna need to have a step after that. They can't. Because then, like, in this, like, they had no plan for after they killed her. It's like, we're going to kill him. And I'm like, and then who's in charge?
It's like,
Like, we'll figure it out.
We want to do it. Like, we'll figure it out once we get there.
Mm-hmm. And they were all like, Brutus should be in charge. And Brutus was like, I didn't sign up for that.
He was like, I just wanted to kill that guy. Like, I didn't want to be in charge myself.
Yeah, I would love to see a production of this. I've never seen one.
I think it was Julius Caesar that they did at my school, like, a few years before I got there. And they did a version that was, like, specific to my school where it was, like, the students were overthrowing the dean.
That's amazing.
And everything. And I was just like, wow, what a power move. Like, that's great.
Apparently, in, like, New York or something a few years ago, they did a production where they made Caesar look like Trump. And I was like, all right, I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that take at all.
That would be interesting.
But then, like, they didn't make anyone else look like, and I was like, well, then.
Oh yeah, no, I think if you gonna go for it, you gotta.
Well, then, like, should Brutus be Hillary or something? Like, I don't.
Yeah, I think you gotta, like, if you're gonna put one modern person into it, you just gotta, like, fill the cast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they didn't. But I wonder if it'd be cool if you did this, like modern, like everyone's just in suits, like.
That would be interesting.
Like Mad Men. Or if, like, Caesar...
And they whip out the knives.
Or, like, I think it could be interesting if, like, Caesar was played by a girl and no one else was.
Oh, that would be cool.
I mean, the girls would be played by girls.
Yeah.
Like...
All of the other people are men.
Even the wives. Everybody's...
Yeah. No, that would be really cool. Okay.
What do you want to talk about now?
Do we want to, like, talk about, like, the characters maybe specifically? We can start with that.
Okay, there's a lot.
Yeah, there's like 50 billion.
There's like 30 some.
If you watched our live stream, you kind of saw me struggling with getting people on screen at the right time.
There's so many. Everyone's name starts with a fucking C.
Or an L.
Yeah, C or an L.
There were like 5 L names.
There's no other letters. I would say... Well, obviously the women do almost nothing.
Yeah, I really liked hold on, let me look at the names. My brain is like, who are all? I liked Portia. Rip when she died though.
I know, and then no one cares.
He was just like, Portia died, and she's like,
he's like, well, don't bum me out. He's
like, and what?
Like, you're just like harsh and my mellow.
Yeah.
I always think how she killed herself is so metal though, that she swallowed coals.
Yeah.
I didn't even know anyone killed themselves like that.
Like, if you're gonna go out, what a way to go.
What a way to go, let me tell you. Who do I want to talk about? All right, so like, I almost want a prequel. I want someone to write like a prequel to this, so that's like a Cassius origin story, since he's
that'd be interesting.
The ringleader, because he just comes out guns a-blazing and is like, fuck this bitch. And I'm like,
yeah,
why? I'm like,
whoa, he's really intense.
Everyone's like in love with Brutus.
Yeah, everyone's like, oh my god, Brutus. Like, when Cassius is like, you have my heart.
What's interesting about Brutus is like, everyone's like, he's so noble. There was never a nobler Roman. Well, we don't really see him do anything.
Yeah, which is why that would also be interesting to see in a prequel. Like, see
like,
what makes him so cool.
I wonder if we're supposed to read it that like they're overhyping him up, or like if like they find nobleness in like stupid you know what I mean? Like, if he's actually supposed to be read as noble, and like it's just not coming across well on page. Yeah. That's not the point.
Kind of like built. Oh, sorry.
No.
I was just going to say, like, building on that, like, it'd be interesting to hear what Shakespeare had to say about it, because, like, whose side is he on? Because, like,
that's what I want to know.
He's always so neutral with, like, a lot of his plays. It's just, like, it could be this or this. Like, I don't have an opinion, which is why it's, like, really great to, like, read his plays, because it's, like, he doesn't have an opinion on the subject. But, like, since he was so, like, opinionless, I'm like, who is he rooting for? Like, who does he want
to, like, have dichotomy? Like Macbeth. Where the whole thing with Macbeth is like, was that destined to happen, or did he just do it because the witches never said you're gonna go murder people. They were just like,
yeah. And then like in Henry V, in my class we talked about how it's like a dichotomy of like there's the picture of the rabbit and the duck, and they're the same picture, but like you can look at it different ways. And like he shows King Henry in both of those ways. Like on one hand, he could be like a really noble leader and he's like really great, and then like there's like a scene where he's talking to like common people who are fighting in the army, and he's like, isn't King Henry great? And then they're like, no, he sucks. Like, I don't want to go die. And like, so they show like the two, like, is he just like a cruel leader who's like taking advantage of everything, or is he like this really smart and like you can see it one way, but like it's your choice as the reader.
Well, and what I wonder is what Shakespeare thought, because Shakespeare was poor, like he was a commoner, like he had some money by the end of his career, but that the commoners are so fucking stupid and like so easily persuaded to like rip people to shreds at the drop of it. So I wonder if like
it was like they were on one side, and then Mark Antony was like, "Hey guys, that's wrong."
Like,
and then you're right.
It was just like all the rulers are wrong, and the fact that because keep in mind, like most of Queen Elizabeth I was, it was queen when he was coming into his own, and people suspect he was a secret Catholic, and she just eviscerated Catholics like on Hitler levels. Like she imprisoned them and tortured them and had them burned in the streets or disemboweled in the streets. And so, you know, and then people would blindly follow her, and she was at the end of the Tudor dynasty, and that was, you know, decades of people blindly following all the Henrys and all the Tudors, and it like never panning out. And so I wonder if he was like, more so than being on Brutus or Caesar's side, was like, maybe if y'all stop being so stupid and just blindly following whoever waltzes up. Because at the beginning, those guys were like, weren't you just cheering about Pompey like 2 days ago? Like, what? It's like, oh, twins. Well, and again, like, is like the ultimate dichotomy play, but that's obvious.
Yeah.
Are there any characters you want to discuss?
I thought it was interesting how like there's just so many of them.
And you're like all the time. It'd be like just Buck walks on stage, shows to you, and the thing is, like, always say it like you're supposed to know who they are.
Like, yes, this person.
And there'd be times
I've never seen before.
The stage directions like say a character's there who never talks.
Yeah, that's like also in Much Ado About Nothing. There's just like,
oh no,
doesn't have any lines whatsoever.
And
it's like some plays don't put her in, and some plays do, and it's like, why?
And like that's why whenever you see a Shakespeare play, you're probably gonna see actors double up anyway. Because how else would they not?
Yeah, exactly.
Let's get a soothsayer backstory.
Right? She was cool.
What's going on with him?
Yeah. And then just and also it's like there's young Cato, but then like I thought in my brain when I saw him on the cast list, there was gonna be an older Cato.
Yeah, just young.
And there wasn't. It was just like, he's young. He's a child.
Well, and there's Decius Brutus and Marcus Brutus and Julius Caesar and Octavius Caesar.
Why does he have why are there like 4 names that he uses? Can he not mix it up?
Like, were these actually everyone's names back then? Like,
right? Yeah, it was just kind of really wild to see how many characters there could be.
Well, and like Strato is who helps kill Brutus, but like, was he supposed to be important? Like, we hadn't seen him.
Exactly. Like, huh?
And we're like, oh, was that your friend? He's just now showing up.
He disappeared. Yeah. So I thought that was interesting. I thought it was also interesting we only saw Calpurnia in one scene.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought she'd be a bigger part, considering.
If I was like gonna make a movie out of this, I would like cut down the number of conspirators to maybe like 5 people.
Yeah, be like, this is the inner cabinet.
And like Calpurnia and Portia would be more prominent. I would probably also like literally the play starts the day before this happens. If I like adapt it, I would have it start way before it happens.
Yeah, get some backstory, because I feel like he really throws you right into it, and you're like,
drop in.
It's like you drop in. Cassie's like, So, not a fan of this Caesar guy.
Like the second half of a play, and you're like, wait.
Yeah. Like, also, like, I feel like the death happens so soon. Like, it doesn't happen that soon. Because it happens in Act 3, but, like, because of all of the conspiring happening before, it feels like not much has happened before that, because all of it's like, so Caesar sucks.
I always think it's funny.
We killed him.
Because this is so stupid.
Especially considering the play is Julius Caesar, like,
because there's like no like the stage
aftermath is so long too.
The stage directions are so lackluster.
Yeah,
it goes from like, them like getting really riled up, and then it just says dies. Like, that's it. And you're like, there he goes. Like,
yeah, like a lot of them, it's just like, and then they killed himself.
They're done. Oh yeah, everyone kills themselves by the end. But that's well, that's the thing is like Shakespeare plays. What is it? They either end in a wedding or a war.
Yes, I wrote an essay about that.
Mm-hmm.
I talked about how it's perceived that a lot of the comedies are just seen to be like ending in like weddings, which is like a very common thing to talk about. But then I looked into it, and like not very many of them actually, like, there is a wedding, but it happens off stage and you never see it on stage. Mm-hmm. So I thought that was interesting. And
well, the wars always happen off stage too. It's just characters
all of the action happens off stage.
Well, how are they supposed to put it on stage? And it's always like, it's always like better, more so than that it ends in weddings or wars. It ends with characters' reactions to weddings and wars, like because. The same thing with Macbeth, like when Birnam Wood comes to Dunsinane, and they're just like, "Oh God, the trees are moving," but like we don't see that. I mean, some productions now that like have money will stage and stuff. Yeah, I mean, it's also interesting. Like, I mean, I really think Shakespeare hated monarchy because so many of his plays are about killing monarchs, and so. But what's weird is Queen Elizabeth loved Shakespeare and loved his plays and loved going to the theater and had like no idea that he was probably a Catholic. And I don't know how she was seeing all these plays about killing leaders and leaders failing and like for like Richard III, which completely like mocks him and just being like, yeah, good stuff.
Yeah. It's wild. I think it's also that the tragedies end with a breaking apart of people versus like weddings are like a coming together and like they all join it at the end.
Well, in all his comedies, like literally almost all of them are romantic comedies.
Yeah.
Like it's never like a buddy cop story or like a drinking buddy story. It's always
imagine.
Like this guy was, that's why like the idea of like romantic comedies being for women is a little weird since like Shakespeare invented them.
Yeah.
Like Much Ado About Nothing like has like the archetype of what Prejudice would go to be.
They don't like each other. Although they fell in love.
And then like the next month we're reading Twelfth Night, and that shows up like in Mulan. Twelfth Night shows up with the whole girl dressed as a guy thing, and then obviously Taming of the Shrew is 10 Things I Hate About You, and that's super common. The whole like like tricking a guy into dating a girl, or like it's a bet, or it's like you can handle her, and so
he has a lot of tropes that he just likes to reuse in different ways.
Like out here inventing them, which is pretty cool. To my knowledge, I don't know about much that was happening before this.
Yeah. Do we want to talk about the plot?
Yeah. So the plot, for all who don't know, is...
Thanks for watching this far without knowing anything.
Caesar, to sum it up, beat Pompey, rose to power over Rome, is going to run it as a democracy, but they want to make him king very much the way that Americans wanted to make George Washington a king. And Caesar says no 3 times. And then he's like going to the Senate for what's essentially his like presidential inauguration. But Cassius, for whatever reason, has decided that he thinks Caesar denied the crown as like a ploy to make people love him even more, and then he's gonna take it, and then he's gonna be a tyrant. So he just manipulates all these other people, including Caesar's best friend, possibly boyfriend, based on the way this all was written and the fact that Shakespeare was bisexual in real life. And and to kill him, and they do violently. Not like they could have slit his throat or something. And he dies, and then they go out they have no plan from there on out. Brutus goes out and tries to be like, we had to do it. And then Mark Antony, another best friend of Caesar, goes out, is like, it was wrong. So then
everyone's like, oh, you're right, it was wrong.
So they start attacking each other in the street. There's madness. And then they go to war, Brutus's side versus Mark Antony's side. And Brutus's side, at a slight inconvenience, is like, we've failed Rome. And they all kill themselves. And then at the end, those who are left are like, oh my God, is Brutus dead too? Like, no care that everyone else is dead. And they're like,
oh, people don't matter, but Brutus, are you okay?
He was the main man. And yeah, like the play opens by scene 2, a pretty center focus on Brutus, and it ends with Brutus. So I mean, I would argue he's the main character, not Caesar. Like I would say Caesar, I would say it's like Brutus, and then Caesar and Cassius are like right here.
Yeah.
Caesar, nopes out after act. He comes back in Act 4 as a ghost for like 3 lines. That's another thing. Yeah. Shakespeare loves a ghost. Loves a ghost.
He really does.
And they're ghosts that you never know if they're there or not.
Yeah.
The only ghost I always argue is there is Hamlet, because people see it. Like, like in Macbeth and in this, no one sees the ghost. But in Hamlet, it literally opens with them be like, how about that ghost last night, huh? This is wild. Yeah. But what interests me is so much of this is like how it ends up being so like the French Revolution. But this was written so far before the French Revolution, which is just interesting. Maybe like Caesar
repeats itself.
Yeah, maybe like Shakespeare was a Time Lord and was like out here like, I'm gonna warn them, and then he's like, nobody picked up on what I put down.
Like what?
Well, I think it's interesting that he chose to tell, because obviously what really happened is more nuanced than this. Because historically, when Caesar rose to power, he was a scholar and he wasn't an emperor. I don't know what his title was. Because they were a democracy, but they didn't say president. We invented that term in America. Yeah. So he was seen as a progressive, like what, not like what a progressive Democrat is seen as, like a Joe Biden type person. Like that's what Caesar was. I mean, policy wise, not like in demeanor, because he was still a warrior. And I don't quite know. I think he started becoming like a conqueror, and that was the shift.
Yeah.
Getting real like Hitler about it and trying to take over all the places. That's
everyone was like, whoa.
All right, maybe calm down. That's why he burned down the Library of Alexandria, because he was trying to conquer that place, and he conquered.
Well, casually.
He conquered Gaul, which is what France used to be called. But I'm not like, it wasn't this. I don't think just one day they were like, you know what?
No, I think Caesar's been doing too much. I think we should stab him.
Well, because in this, it's like, it makes it seem like he just became in charge.
Yeah, which is weird, because they'll just like immediately like, no, this is terrible.
Yeah, they make it sound like he just switched from being like a general to in charge. And, Macy says, hey.
Welcome.
And it's like, in real life, he'd been in charge for a while, I think. Yeah. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it wasn't like, all right, well, it's been a day, so.
Well, he hasn't succeeded in curing all our problems by now. Okay, let's stab him.
Maybe they served under him in the military.
Oh, yeah, and then they were like, he probably won't be a good ruler.
Yeah, maybe that was it. Because I guess, like, they were like, oh, Caesar was ambitious because he kept conquering places, so maybe they were like.
Yeah.
But that doesn't even make sense, because wouldn't they want to be in charge of everything? Because that seems to be how everybody acts. Like.
They're like, oh, we're getting too much power, guys.
They're like, we have too much. We should just
we can't handle it. I don't know if I'm ready for this.
If there's anything white people do, is give back power.
Yeah, of course.
What do you think about the plot? Anything?
I thought it was good. I thought it was very fast paced, which was interesting.
It's very
like, considering, I don't know, generally I feel like people consider Shakespeare's plays to be slow and like hard to read, but like this was a lot faster than I thought it was going to be, which made it like really fun.
when people hear 5 acts, I think they think that's going to take forever, but the acts are way shorter.
Yeah. And it takes like we read it in 2 hours and 18 minutes. And like that's a pretty solid time to just like sit down, read a play, be done.
Well, and because like they have more of the structure of like a movie.
Mm-hmm.
A movie usually has 3 to 5 acts. Whereas what we think of as a play now or a musical
has
2 acts, which is I would say why sometimes when you put there's always ants in my room anymore. I say as I just eat Cheetos up here. Is that like I would say that's probably why sometimes when musicals and plays get translated to the screen it can feel weird. Like Into the Woods is the number one because it depends on having an act break. Have you seen Into the Woods?
Yeah.
Yeah, it really depends on an act break to tell you how the tone needs to change. Like it depends that there be an intermission.
Yeah, that way it's like, okay, you pause for a second and then you come back and like all of this is changing.
So then when it just has to keep going in a movie form, you're like, oh, weird.
Yeah, I guess.
And I've noticed like when I went to see the ballet of Romeo and Juliet, you know, they like some ballets still do a bunch of acts like Swan Lake. And I don't think this ballet was doing that. I think because we had an intermission. But it was similar with like when we saw Cats, because that's like kind of a ballet. Is I was like, when are we gonna break? Because they just do that straight through.
Yeah, that's wild.
I don't even know if they had intermission in Shakespeare's day.
Yeah, because they were all like a lot of people were just standing in the theater, right?
Well, it's usually daytime. Like, what were you gonna do? It's not like you were gonna go buy a T-shirt and get a drink. Like, you were all just standing around.
Yeah, so they probably didn't really have that.
Which is probably why they're written to go. Yeah, I feel like people think a Shakespeare play is going to take hours and hours.
Which is funny because it's like it was meant to be performed for like a movie, just in a few hours.
Yeah, like it, you know, it was meant to be quick and fast, and it was like written for the people. It wasn't written to be like the hoity-toity thing Shakespeare's seen as today. And I guess that's well, I think it goes back to we're teaching it in middle and high school wrong. Because I thought I didn't like Shakespeare until after, like, about halfway through college. Like, I liked this when I read it when I was 15, and then everything else, I was like, I don't care.
I didn't really care for Midsummer Night's Dream when I read that freshman year of high school. But then, like, when I read Macbeth, I thought that was really fun, and I thought it was, like, very engaging. And I thought the way my teacher taught it was good.
Because I told you last night, the first time I read Macbeth was, like, we read a censored version in class, and it was just read at us by our teacher.
Yeah, that's not good.
And she did it so slow. And she would do and she would stop like mid-scene to tell us what something meant. Like, and wouldn't be like, what do you guys think? Like, what's going on? She'd be like, so this line. And I'd be like, shut up.
It's like you want to like get people to learn from it. So you want to see like if they're getting the right thing.
Yeah. And again, like there's stuff that we can't know. Like we don't know how Shakespeare intended for Brutus to be read or Caesar to be read. And so then in college, my Shakespeare teacher was very much like what he thought is what was right. And it's like, that's not how Shakespeare works in this way.
Yeah, no, my Shakespeare teacher, Dr. Higginbotham, is wonderful.
Your teacher is cool.
Oh my God, she's the best. And I'm hoping to get her on for a different episode.
Man, that's probably why.
Yeah, no, she's great. And she is just so passionate about it. And it's really fun because she like loves to hear what other people say. And she's like, I'm always ready for you to like push back against other ideas and like have your like share your own opinions, and it's really great. Which she's probably watching this. So hi, Dr. Higginbotham. I love you.
What do you want to talk about now? You want to talk about themes?
Yeah, I thought we could talk about this because I thought it was interesting how a lot of things are very similar. Like we kind of talked about within a lot of his works.
Mm-hmm.
They are like like we see blood a lot, like on the hands, and it's like, oh, I have blood on my hands, and then like the knives, and then just like. There's a bunch of things that he repeats, kind of.
Well, and daggers, like in Romeo and Juliet, oh, happy dagger, and then in Macbeth, is that a dagger I see before me?
Yeah.
And the way that, like, when Lady Macbeth is like, oh, we'll put all the blood on both our hands, so we're all guilty.
Yeah.
And then when Mark Antony comes, I think to, like, try and make them feel guilty, he's like, oh, shake hands with me, all of you. So you have see how much fucking blood is on your like, out damn spot.
Yeah, I think a lot of that is like interesting to see how it flows through, especially I think it's also just like things of the time. Like he phrases a lot of things the same way. So like reading it through, it's like interesting. He's repeating himself.
I wonder if Shakespeare saw like rulers as really like feeble-minded, because in all the tragedies, it does not take much for them to like lose their mentality and be like, time to kill myself. Like,
yeah.
Like, rulers were probably killing people and having people killed left and right. But in Shakespeare's mind, like, Lady Macbeth and Macbeth, it's like, they could have gotten away with that if they wanted to. And like,
they were too stressed out about it.
They're like, oh God. What
Yeah.
is this? Like, they weren't even losing the war. And they're like,
the first minor inconvenience, I gotta go.
Gotta follow my sword.
Yeah, it's like, come on, calm down.
Yeah, like at least in Romeo and Juliet, like that's suicide. Yeah, there's a lot of suicide. And like Romeo and Juliet, suicide is so different.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
It's interesting that like when the kids killed themselves, it was like for a noble cause. When all the grown men do it,
they're just like, it's not happening.
Also, I wanted it to. Women, like Juliet stabs herself, but Portia's like, no.
Yeah, she's like, what? Which I love.
Me too. We stand.
Yeah.
She stabs herself in the thigh.
Yeah.
That she's like,
power move.
She's like, you can trust me because I stab, and it's like you could have hit an artery. I don't know the plan. Well, obviously, the Ides of March is a big thing, and that's like like a spring solstice type thing in pagan culture. And so like obviously, I mean, it's probably like a pretty on the nose thing that like spring is like the life from the death of the winter.
Mm-hmm.
Like Caesar's the winter and Brutus is the spring. Brutus kills himself, so maybe like spring came too early or something.
The groundhog predicted it wrong.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, because they I'm trying to think like what if that number meant anything, because it's on March 15th. That's the Ides of March.
Yeah.
But
I don't know.
But well, there's Calpurnia's dream, which has a lion in the streets, and then a lion is actually in the streets. I'm sorry, that's not in the dream. That's in real life. There's a lion walking around. There's thunder and lightning. I want to say that Shakespeare probably like originated the idea of a dark and stormy night.
Yeah, that's probably true. Which is also interesting because it's performed in the middle of the day, so it's like
I know, and they'd be like, "Oh my God, the night sky tonight!" Like, and then there's a lion, and the fountains are spewing blood, and like she has a dream where they literally say they murder Caesar, and then Decius shows up and is like, "No, that's a good sign." And
okay, that's a great idea.
I don't even remember how he justifies that. That's a hold on, let me look.
Yeah,
because when he shows up, he's like, no, it's good. Good.
That's a good idea.
Hold on.
Yeah, but then I think it would also be interesting if we after this we talk about the movie we watched the other day.
Mm-hmm.
Because reading it again.
Caesar Must Die was the
movie. Caesar Must Die. I thought reading it again today, it was cool to see like how much they took from it and like how it was adapted and changed.
And to be played by all the characters be played by real inmates, so it's like literally like the exact opposite from like nobility. Oh, what Decius says is, this dream is a misinterpreted. It was a vision, fair and fortunate. Your statue spouting blood in many pipes in which so many smiling Romans bathed signifies that from your great Rome shall suck reviving blood, and that great men shall press for tinctures, stains, relics, and cognizance. This by Calpurnia's dream is signified. So, he like tinctures or handkerchiefs dipped in a martyr's blood, which is like when that should have been assigned to Caesar right there, because that still means he dies. Because like that's also where like the term red cap and red coat came from, is they would originally just dip their like medieval times they'd do that. They'd dip their knighthood in blood and then they'd like treasure it. And so like the more fucking gross and like caked in dried blood a guy's cap was, it was like so fucking
like, oh, that's very noble.
And so, and then people did it with their handkerchiefs and stuff as like a way to remember them. And I'm like, this still means you die.
Yeah.
Saying you die a martyr and not, you know.
Like, oh, what a better way to die.
It's like still ends with your death. I don't think Caesar's super smart.
Yeah, probably not.
I think he could be smart, but he's blinded by his arrogance.
Yeah.
But yeah, you want to talk about Caesar Must Die? Because that was really interesting.
Yeah, it was really cool to watch and like to see how the characters were like adapting the play, especially since it was in such a different way that like it sort of flowed naturally into all the Shakespeare performances.
Yeah, you couldn't always tell when they had switched back into not being in rehearsal. It was also interesting to see that other countries run their prisons with civility. Because I was like, if the U.S. prisons be a very different film.
It was so nice to look at their prison. I was like, that looks like my college room.
Well, because that's how you should treat them. Like,
yeah.
How is anyone going to get better?
Yeah.
You know, so, because the punishment is just supposed to be that they don't get to be in the world, not that they have to get.
Exactly. Not that they have to, like, suffer extremely.
Yeah, like, because then they're just going to be pissed when they get back.
Well, this wasn't good.
Yeah, like, what I thought, too, like, it's like the acting teacher, like, you know, it's not like he resented being there or anything. Like, everyone. Yeah. And, like, the guards weren't, like, in, like, you know, a U.S. prison movie or whatever, guards would be, like, beating down them and stuff. And when they're like, hey, rec time's over, they're like, no, let them finish their scene. Like,
yeah, they were like, oh, they're still doing something down there. And they're like, oh, they're pretty good. And like, watching them play.
And, you know.
They're watching them perform. And it's like, oh, that's so nice.
And at the end, like, you know, that's them getting to do something that, like, the public comes and sees and appreciates. And these are people that have, like, literally been told, like, you're not important to society.
Yeah.
Not to be like, crimes are great, do them. You know.
But, like, considering that, like, they've kind of destroyed their life because now they're trapped in there.
Yeah, and it's like, you know, the whole point of prison is supposed to be for rehabilitation. And it's interesting to then choose this play as opposed to something else because arguably the conspirators are like, we got to rebuild Rome in our image. And so to like be like, let these people literally like create art. And, you know, these people would all probably like not have done a Shakespeare play like out during their regular life. And also when we learned they were real inmates, I was like, these bitches are giving a great performance.
They were really good. Yeah.
They cast for the movie.
Yeah, they were really good.
Did you know when we went into it that they were real inmates?
I think I had an idea that they were. I think I remembered because my teacher was the one who recommended that we watch that. Because we were watching an adaptation last semester, and we got to choose like one of the ones from the plays we read, or she was like, or you could watch this other one, because like her focus is all on prison and like how that's shown in Shakespeare's works and like how that's like reinforced in like the brutality and just like stuff like that. So like, that's really interesting to her, and she goes and teaches in prisons. And so I think I had an idea that like it's about real prisoners performing Shakespeare play, because like that's what she does. So like she found it really interesting to see like people do that. But I think it wasn't really like at the forefront of my mind, so I wasn't like, yes, the inmates. I was just like, ooh, these are really good actors.
It was amazing to learn they were real inmates.
Yeah.
And so that means like that was the real public coming to really see their play. It's also interesting that this is an Italian movie, and we're seeing an Italian prison be like a decent place for people to be, you know, treated with civility, because so much of people referred to Verona as like Shakespeare's fantasy land because he'd never been there, but a lot of shit took place there
in fair Verona.
And you know, like the two gentlemen of Verona, like they said, like Italy was like, you know, like Shakespeare's fantasy land. So it's interesting that this Italian movie that has like an ideal prison and has inmates playing these characters is there, and that And here's what I found more interesting is that they're doing a play about a country with a democracy, and America modeled our democracy after ancient Rome.
Yeah.
And our prison system sucks.
Yeah.
It was a cool movie. It was really interesting.
Yeah, it was really cool to see how they took it and like made it their own.
They were like using all the space of the prison.
Wow, which was really cool.
And like when they were doing the pulpit scenes, all the prisoners were like the people of Rome.
Yeah, that was really, and like how like when Caesar died, then all of them were like kind of watching. And then when like Mark Antony and Brutus and everything, when they gave their speeches and all the people were like, yeah.
They were just so good too. Like the actors were so good.
Yeah.
And it would make sense, you know, I wish like our prisons did more stuff like that. Cause like you were saying, like your teacher said, like they really connect to it. Cause like it's something besides like meaningless labor or
it's something to actually like think about and like put your mind to.
And like, and care about, and like it requires teamwork. Like having a bunch of prisoners go make license plates isn't like helping them rehabilitate at all. But like having a bunch of people, like there would be those parts where they all were like trying to argue. And the other ones would be like, I don't want this ruined. Like, I want to do it. And like, they would work out.
And to like be able to discuss the problems and like figure everything out. And then kind of to discuss it like what we're doing now is like, that's what they would probably do.
And like the whole like men don't get to be emotional thing. And I think what's cool is because Shakespeare wrote such totally emotional stuff. Is then it lets men, especially like big tough guys who ended up as criminals, get to be emotional, and then they don't have to be like, well, I'm emotional. It's just like they're connecting through the play.
Yeah,
I like that when they did their audition, they didn't the audition.
I love the auditions
because like they didn't give them like sides and we're like, oh, read this, because to just expect people to like understand how to read Shakespeare right off the bat, to just be like, tell us your age and like where you're from. And like why you're in prison, and first say it like you're really happy, and then say it like you're leaving your family at the border. I'm like, what the fuck? That's so specific. And they're like, now say it like you just got stopped by the police, and like, I was great.
We're like, hey,
that was amazing.
Yeah, it was really great.
I loved it. I also like that they did the play in color. And then all the rehearsal leading up to it was in black.
Yeah, it was cool. It was cool to see because like it shows the time period that like of the play. Like this is the past and like this is the present.
Very like it was almost like a reverse Wizard of Oz.
Yeah, I agree.
It was really cool. I really liked it.
Yeah, I was a big fan. I was glad we watched it because I thought it was really
cool. Yeah, because I remember in high school we watched like some shitty old adaptation. It was the most obnoxious thing in the world. I thought this was a really cool way to watch. Oh, you know what's cool? It really showed like why people would not like Caesar. Is in one of the scenes where they're acting, and the guy playing Caesar goes off script and it's just straight up insult.
Oh yeah.
And he's like, "That's not in the script." He's like, "It would be if they knew."
He's like, "If it was you, because you suck."
And then they get in a fight, and I'm like, "Hey."
I was like, what happens?
That scene was cool though too, because you think they're gonna fight. The acting teacher doesn't go break it up.
Yeah, he's just like, whatever.
He like trusts them to be adults.
They'll work through it, yeah.
I'm like, whoa, imagine that. We don't even treat high schoolers with that much respect in America.
Yeah.
Italy, in this high security prison, it just seems like a summer camp.
Yeah, it's so nice that they're just
I'm not trying to like minimize how hard prison is. I'm just saying like in comparison to America.
Yeah, just like based on what we know, yeah.
Because what's going on in our prisons, from what I heard, it's not the same as that movie.
Doesn't seem like it.
Yeah, when Bridget and I were watching the movie, it starts and we're like, wait, this is their cell? We're like, this looks
so nice.
It legit was the size of my freshman year dorm room.
Yeah.
I'm exaggerating. And they had like all their own stuff. The fact that
one guy had like a coffee press.
And like, yeah, the French press, and he had a coffee mug. And I'm like, oh my, he could break that and make a ship. And they're just letting him have it. Like,
they're just letting him have these objects because he's going to be there forever. Wild.
They didn't wear uniforms, which was interesting.
Yeah, they were just like wearing their own clothes.
wild.
Crazy.
Do you want to discuss anything else?
Do you have anything you want to talk about? I think I've...
Oh, they the theme of the stars is used a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Not just the Vault in Our Stars thing, but
but they talk about the stars a lot, yeah.
Right before Caesar dies, he compares himself to being as steadfast as the northern star. Mm-hmm. But also, like, a soothsayer would presumably use the stars to...
Mm-hmm.
So it's one of those things where it was the fault in their stars or in themselves, because the soothsayer is like, this is going to happen no matter what. And Caesar is like, death will come when it comes. But then the conspirators are like, it's within our power to change things. Mm-hmm. And so I guess that plays with the idea of people who believe like God has a plan and everything happens for a reason and there's fate and destiny, and then other people who are like, no. And I wonder if this argues against the people who take the power into their own hands, because it didn't pan out well for them.
It really didn't. Like, they didn't really seem to have a plan at the end. They were just like,
no.
We had a fight now. Now it's over.
The stars.
Yeah.
That was my one note. Was the stars.
Yeah, no, I thought that was cool, because especially considering like how prominent stars are in his other works as well. Like,
well, yeah, and then like in Roman mythology, much like Greek mythology, like
they named all the stars and the planets.
Mm-hmm. So you're gonna tell the folks what we're doing next month?
Yes, next month we are reading 12th Night, and our live show is going to be on
May 1st.
Yes, May 1st.
Maybe we'll all be allowed to leave our houses by then.
At 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We will have our live show read through of the play. I forget which day I said.
14th.
The 14th, yeah.
If you want to be in it, just tweet at us on Twitter at @bard_book. Because there's a lot of characters, so.
Yeah, so just like tweet at us, and we will, like, we're going to make a group chat at some point for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And, when is our movie watched? You have that written down, right?
I don't think we chose.
We're going to be, we're watching the 1996 version.
With Bonham Carter.
With Helen Bonham Carter. I believe it's available on like YouTube and like streaming service, like and like iTunes for like $4 probably, something like that. And it'll be a good time.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Make sure you follow us on Twitter and Instagram.
We'll be making sure you know about the dates on there.
Yeah.
And it'll be a fun time. Yes, I'm excited for the read-through. It's a bit earlier this time because we thought it would be good to give you some time to read it on your own, then give you some time to be able to watch that to prepare for our talk about it.
Mm-hmm. I think that's everything.
Yes.
Everyone for being a part of the first month of the Bard Book Club.
Yes, thank you all for joining us. We hope we'll see you again next month. And Shakespeare.
Yay, Shakespeare.
Bye.